What is herd immunity? I have seen this buzzword go over, so I have looked into it, and it is quite interesting. Sweden is saying it. That's a bit of a tongue twister. It is quite interesting, Sweden. Quite interesting. Sweden is saying that. Okay. It is quite interesting, and Sweden is saying that as early as later this month or next month, they may actually have herd immunity. So we'll read this and we'll get to the point where it talks about herd immunity. That's all, folks. Yes, no. Porky Pig has not infected my body. I'm fine. Let's read this, get to the point where it talks about herd immunity, and then let's figure out what herd immunity is. And I have seen some things online talking about herd immunity that are a bad idea that we definitely need to discuss. Parts of Sweden could achieve herd immunity as early as next month, the country's leading epidemiologist has said, as the death toll rises. This is from Daily Mail. The government is holding out against a total lockdown despite people calling for more drastic measures to help stop the spread of coronavirus. It has 13,000 cases in Sweden right now. It has canceled football games and closed university buildings. However, restaurants, gyms, cinemas, shops, and pubs all still remain open. Numbers just gone past 13,000. They're saying they're going to be able to test up to 100,000 per day. Speaking to local media, Dr. Anders Tegnell, the architect of Sweden's controversial strategy, claimed that the population of Stockholm, the epicenter of the country's outbreak, could achieve herd immunity as early as next month. Now, this is where the discussion online really kind of begins and whatnot. So, basically, what is herd immunity? Well, before we really get into it, definition is herd immunity: the resistance to the spread of a contagious disease within a population that results if a sufficiently high proportion of individuals are immune to the disease, especially through vaccination. Now, there are people calling on having things such as chickenpox parties that they used to have back in the day. Take your child over, get them infected, if they get an immunity, good. If not, come what may. But no, that is a bad idea, and we will get into that here in just a second. Johns Hopkins University School of Public Health. What is herd immunity, and how can we achieve it with COVID-19? And dear Lord, YouTube, please quit flagging my videos for saying COVID-19. I thought you said it was allowed now. Please. Please. When the coronavirus that causes COVID-19 first started to spread, virtually nobody was immune, which meant that it spread rapidly and that it had a very, very bad death toll because, well, there was zero immunity. Meeting no resistance, the virus spread quickly across communities. Stopping it will require a significant percentage of people to be immune. But how can we get to that point? So again, what is herd immunity? A little bit more of an expanded definition. When most of a population is immune to an infectious disease, this provides indirect protection, or herd immunity, also called herd protection, to those who are not immune to the disease. The disease hits a point where it basically hits a brick wall, and it cannot spread. For example, if 80% of a population is immune to a virus, 4 out of every 5 people who encounter someone with the disease won't get sick, and won't spread the disease any further. In this way, the spread of infectious diseases is kept under control. Depending on how contagious an infection is, usually 70 to 90% of a population needs immunity to achieve herd immunity. And Sweden is saying that they are getting to that point. Now, there are some people that are saying that, well, yes, obviously the reason for that is because the people who are not immune are dying off. That's a point, but more of them are not dying off, especially if the percentage of the population that is immune is rising. How have we achieved herd immunity for other infectious diseases, which we have mostly due to vaccines? Measles, mumps, polio, and chickenpox are examples of infectious diseases that were once very common, but are now rare in the United States because vaccines helped to establish herd immunity. you don't have an immunity to this disease, you get a vaccine. It gives you a certain percentage of success in immunity that ups the percentage of immune individuals in the population, even if those individuals who get the vaccine are only, I don't know, we'll pick any random number. Let's say 20 to 50% effective. Well, that's another extra 20 to 50% of those people who get the vaccine that can go out in the population that are now immune to the disease. That's more of a brick wall. When they say herd immunity, they mean, think of it this way. When a tiger attacks a group of water buffalo, the young get into the center, the adults with the horns and the weight and the girth and the mass to actually put some fear into the tiger get in the front, and they protect the young. The tiger has got to get through them in order to get to the young. That's what they're describing. Let's see here. We sometimes see outbreaks of vaccine-preventable diseases in communities with lower vaccine coverage because they don't have herd protection. It would be like herd of buffalo with only 1 or 2 adults and many children. It's slim protection and easy pickings for the tiger. For infections without a vaccine, even if many adults have developed immunity because of a prior infection, the disease can still circulate among children and can still infect those with weakened immune systems. This was seen for many of the aforementioned diseases before vaccines were developed. Other flus like the virus. Yes, there we go. Welcome to Backwards Day. Maybe I'm turning dyslexic. Other viruses like the flu mutate over time, so antibodies from a previous infection provide protection for only a short period of time, which is why the flu vaccine is every year. They predict what the next year's vaccine are what the next year's mutation of the flu is going to be. They take a percentage and they say these are the 10 most likely mutations. And then all year, this year they are already working on next year's vaccine. And they will make them. However, some of the problems exist with the vaccine, the antibody, I forget what the word is. The part in the vaccine that is the dead virus that lets your body gobble it up and come up with its own antibodies to it. Sometimes will mutate during the process and isn't exactly correct and is slightly less effective. But they are still more effective than nothing. Other viruses like the flu mutate over time, so antibodies from previous infection provide protection for only a short period of time. For the flu, this is less than a year. If SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19, is like other coronaviruses that currently infect humans, we can expect that people who get infected will be immune for months to years, but probably not their entire lives. They'll be immune to a certain strain of the virus until it mutates. What will it take to achieve herd immunity? As with any other infection, there are 2 ways to achieve As with any other infection, there are 2 ways to achieve herd immunity. A large proportion of the population either gets infected or gets a protective vaccine. Based upon early estimates of this virus's infectiousness, we will likely need at least 70% of the population to be immune to have herd protection. On other articles that were very heavy scientific articles, the kind where I had to copy and paste into Google to find out what in the world they were talking about, they were talking more like 83%. Pretty average on the scientific papers. In the worst case, for example, if we do not perform physical distancing or enact other measures to slow the spread of SARS-CoV-2, the virus can infect this many people in a matter of a few months. This would overwhelm our hospitals and lead to high death rates. In the best case, we maintain current levels of infection, or even reduce these levels until a vaccine becomes available, which some people are saying 18 months, some people are saying 6 months, some people are saying the end of the next month. So, yeah, we'll see. This will take a concentrated effort on the part of the entire population, with some level of continued physical distancing for an extended period. Likely, yay, a year or longer before a highly effective vaccine can be developed, tested, and mass-produced. The most likely case is somewhere in the middle, where infection rates rise and fall over time. We may relax social distancing measures when numbers of infections fall, and then may need to re-implement these measures as numbers increase again. Let's skip to this part that people are talking about having COVID parties. purposely get infected. Now, some people are saying they want to have COVID parties to purposely get infected because they are afraid of the secure QID card readers that are going to make it so that way if you are immune or you have the antibodies, you've had it and you're asymptomatic, or you've had it and you've gotten over it, that you're free to move. But if you don't, that you're, others are because, well, we think it's like chickenpox. And okay, here's why that's a bad idea. Why is getting infected with the SARS-CoV-2 to quote unquote get over it? Get it over with. Sorry. Yeah, maybe I am going dyslexic. To quote, get it over with, unquote, not a good idea. With some other diseases such as chickenpox, before the varicella vaccine was developed, people sometimes exposed themselves intentionally as a way of achieving immunity. I remember these when I was a kid. I'm going to date myself a little bit. They are just barely dying off, but chickenpox parties. In fact, I know parents who took their kids to chickenpox parties. For less severe diseases, this approach might be reasonable, but the situation for SARS-CoV-2 is very different. COVID-19 carries a much higher risk of severe disease and even death, and they've proven even in young, healthy children that when they're infected, it does do damage to your lungs. It does do damage to other organs as well. The death rate for COVID-19 is unknown, but current data suggests it is 10 times higher than for the flu. It is higher still among vulnerable groups like the elderly and people with weakened immune systems. Even if the same number of people ultimately get infected with SARS-CoV-2, it's best to space those infections over time to avoid overwhelming our doctors and hospitals. Quicker is not always better, as we have seen in previous epidemics with high mortality rates, such as the 1918 flu pandemic. I appreciate your time, by the way, for sticking with it. We're almost done. Man, you guys are troopers. I appreciate that. What should we expect in the coming months? Scientists are working furiously. Many scientists on many levels and many different labs and many different places. And a lot of it is because they want to save lives, but a lot of it is also because money. They want the money, man. The big dollar green bill. Everybody wants the money. Who doesn't want the money? I want the money. You want the money. We all want the money. They all want the money. Everybody wants the money. So it's a big driving factor as well. Capitalism. You gotta love it. Scientists are working fiercely to develop an effective vaccine. In the meantime, as most of the population remains uninfected with SARS-CoV-2, some measures will be required to prevent explosive outbreaks like those we've seen in places like New York City. The physical distancing measures may need to vary over time. It appears that a lot of the discussion is waxing and waning of the restrictions. Releasing them, and then you're able to work. So what? We are locked down for 6 months, and we're able to work for 6 months. Well, what do we do for the 6 months? Well, shit, man. There's only one way around that, and that's a universal basic income. You do realize that, right? This is, like, just weird. It's like having socialism forced down our throats by something we can't even see. I mean, waxing and waning, we're going to have seasonal income of some sort, or everybody's going to have to make enough in 6 months to live for the next 6 months. I mean, it's going to be bizarre. I don't know where we're going with this. I'm guessing. I'm shooting in the dark here. I don't know. I'm just saying, if we're waxing and waning on this, and they're saying that we're going to have to enact restrictions and then release restrictions and then enact restrictions, at some point we're going to come up with a pattern. We're going to say during these times is when it's bad and these times when it's not, and we're going to adjust, and we're going to have to figure out what we do during these lockdown situations, because it will not work in any way, shape, or form. And I'm just going on the basis that they're saying we're going to end up having to go on lockdown, off lockdown, on lockdown, off lockdown. It would be impossible to do spur of the moment lockdowns and spur of the moment openings. We couldn't possibly do that. It would have to be on a schedule. So that's what we're going to have to look forward to, is, hibernation periods. I don't know. It's going to change the culture if we go that way, for sure. We're going to have 6 months of some weird culture shit going on. We're going to have, lockdown parties, and I've already seen discussions of changing the nature of relationships and whatnot, so that way you don't kill the person that you love during the 6 months of lockdown, like having a lockdown partner or a hybo partner, hibernation partner. 6 months with your spouse, and then you're 6 months with your lockdown partner, and then back to your spouse. I mean, Jesus, everything is just like changing before our eyes. And where are we going? Where are we headed? I don't even know. Nobody knows. Everybody that says they know, 2 days later, we don't know again. But unless we want hundreds of millions of Americans to get infected with SARS-CoV-2, what it would take to establish herd immunity in this country, life is not likely to be completely normal again until a vaccine can be developed and widely distributed. And as they stated before, even, not even then, because you will be immune for it for a period, and not everybody. It will be a few individuals that will be immune to it. Not everybody will be. And you will only be immune for a certain period of time. So, what? My brain is fried. Holy crap, man. Thinking about all the different possibilities of what's going on. So I leave it to you. What are the possibilities? What are we going... I can't even think about it anymore. I love you guys. You guys stay informed. And hey, you guys keep me informed as well. I appreciate the emails with the stories and things like that. I love you guys, and I will see you guys on the next one.